Hello, I am Vivian Lee Nitre, and I'd like to welcome you to the Student and Support Network webinar of the University of California Education Abroad Program, or UCEAP. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the UCEAP website. The presentation is intended for winter and spring program participants and their support networks, and that would include immediate family, extended relatives, friends, or any other person a student considers to be a support person. We hope that through this webinar, you'll better understand UCEAP. We'll introduce you to the tools we have in place to provide guidance, to reduce health and safety risks, and to provide the highest value and greatest impact for UCEAP program participants as they undertake this study abroad academic journey. Throughout the webinar, please use the Q&A feature. There will be a 15-minute question and answer session after the presentation. A little bit about myself. Prior to coming to my current role as Associate Vice Provost and Executive Director of UCEAP, I was Dean of 2 colleges in China and a faculty member and department chair at UC Riverside for more than 20 years. My experience with study abroad, though, goes back even farther. As a first-generation college student, I studied abroad in the Netherlands, and I later met my husband while studying in Taiwan as a grad student. While I was a UC faculty member, I was a faculty director in the Netherlands for 3 years for UCEAP. From all of these experiences, I know the value of education abroad, and I also know its challenges. UCEAP is an academic unit of the University of California, serving all 10 campuses. We offer program options for formal classroom study, field and lab research opportunities, and a variety of internships across the globe. Students can participate in summer, quarter, semester, or entire academic year programs in 40 countries, most with coursework in English. Costs vary by program length and location, but UC financial aid applies in all cases, and there are programs that cost the same or even less as staying on campus. UCEAP also offers its own scholarships. While studying abroad, students can fulfill major, minor, or breadth requirements, which means that the time to graduation will not be delayed. The webinar that we're presenting today will provide more specific information on all of these topics. Importantly, I want to note that students are supported by a global team of more than 100 dedicated professionals. This includes on-site or local support staff, UCEAP staff, and UC contracted providers. Participation in UCEAP programs includes insurance that is specifically geared to the needs of students who are studying abroad. Our UCEAP teams work with students from start to finish, beginning with pre-departure guidance and orientation and on through to their return to campus. UCEAP was the first study abroad organization in the United States to have an international health, safety, and crisis management unit, and I'm very proud that our dedicated and experienced 24/7 team of professionals continues to be nationally recognized. Study abroad helps students enhance their knowledge base, as well as develop important soft social skills that prepare them for a career or for graduate and professional school. It's true that all students abroad face challenges of different kinds, but working through these problems allows them to gain confidence and valuable insights about themselves. UCEAP and partner staff are always available for advice and assistance, but we hope that students will discover what they're capable of for themselves. When I was a faculty director, I would see students arrive. They were a little nervous, a bit overwhelmed, and sometimes homesick. But then I would see them depart just a few months later, and they were really different people, more self-assured, independent, and some of them having discovered a second home. Beyond my professional involvement with UCEAP, I'm actually a UCEAP parent, more than once. As a mother, it was not always easy to be far away or to resist the urge to somehow reach across the distance to try to help or fix some problem. But I believe that being able to step back while remaining supportive allowed me and my husband to watch our daughter gain resilience, advance academically, and build an international circle of friends who have remained close for more than a decade now. Our UCEAP leadership team, listed on the next slide, will present a variety of topics designed to help foster meaningful communication between UCEAP participants, that is, your student, you or your student, and support networks. Students, I wish you every success on your study abroad journey. And support network participants, I thank you for your attention and your attendance today. So now to get us started, I'd like to introduce John Simone, our Data Privacy and Compliance Officer, who'll speak about our UCEAP communications approach in accordance with privacy laws. Thank you. John?
Thanks, Vivian. Hello, everyone. You may have heard of the laws that we were about to mention, but we just wanted to highlight them because of how they can shape the exchange of information between you and the university. UCAP deeply values and strives to protect the privacy and confidentiality of our students. It is also a legal requirement under U.S. federal laws such as the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, otherwise known as FERPA, as well as under California law, such as the state constitution and Information Privacy Act. Because of these legal protections afforded students, a University of California staff member is generally prohibited from disclosing certain personal information to any third party without the student's prior consent. This includes members of the student support network. In light of these laws, we encourage students to be proactive in communicating program information directly to their support networks and authorizing consent for disclosure to trusted individuals in advance of their travels, wherever they feel it appropriate to do so. Authorization for family members to access student records is recorded during the student's application to UCEAP. If the student did not select to grant access at that time, they may easily update those preferences by emailing us at this address, at the address on the slide, privacy@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. Our next speaker will be our Associate Dean, Peter Graham.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Graham. I'm one of two Associate Deans for UCEAP. I've been a professor at UC Riverside since 2001, and I joined UCEAP in 2022. So though relatively new to the job, on my campus, I was Associate Dean for Student Academic Affairs for 5 years and Associate Dean for Arts and Humanities for 2. So I've got a lot of experience helping students navigate their studies. Studying abroad is going to be fun, exciting, seeing new parts of the world and experiencing new culture while working hard towards the completion of a UC degree is well worth the commitment. UCEAP is an ecosystem that supports all aspects of a student's journey abroad and then back to their UC campus. My role in that ecosystem, along with other UCE employees in California and abroad, is to maintain high academic standards while helping students face academic challenges. The first challenge is focusing on the purpose. Fundamentally, embarking on a UCEAP program is not tourism. UCEAP is study abroad, not travel abroad. It's education. The primary purpose is learning inside and outside of the classroom in another part of the world. Now, to advance your education, we expect students to carry a full course load and to meet deadlines for course registration, for adding and dropping courses, and for choosing the grading basis. Be sure to carry a full load and abide by those deadlines. Now, students will be in a new culture with differences in learning and teaching. That's a big part of why you learn so much from studying abroad. Be ready to adjust to cultural differences in teaching and learning. However, we also understand that there may be extenuating circumstances related to health problems or special academic situations that impact the course of study. And so there's a process in place to petition for adding or dropping a course, changing the grading basis, and other changes. If there's a problem, ask for help. Understand your academic options through the petition process. Now, for the guide to study abroad, you can scan the QR code on the slide up in the corner. Earning UC credit towards completing your degree means planning. Speak with academic advisors as soon as possible to plan your courses abroad, and then keep communicating with your academic advisors throughout your time abroad to adjust to changes and to plan for your return. The academic culture in varied countries may be very different than it is in the United States. This is both an opportunity and a challenge to adapt to a different culture and to develop new skills and competencies you did not know you had. Different countries will assign grades in different ways. Be ready for your transcript while abroad to look different from what you have experienced at home. But we take care of that. Our job is then to carefully review the academic culture and grading patterns of international partner institutions so as to translate to meet UC standards. In coordination then with academic specialists, associate deans review and give final approval of grades. UCEAP then transmits those grades to the register of the home UC campus. Congratulations to students who have chosen to embark on the transformational life decision to study abroad, and the support network who will champion them along the way. Our next speaker will be our Director of Global Programs, Michelle Cobb.
Thanks, Peter. Studying abroad is a great way for your student to experience different cultures, increase their employability, and gain a competitive edge. But we know there are also a lot of questions and preparation before they go abroad, both for you and your student. UCEAP's support network here in California includes program staff who work closely with your student to ensure they have end-to-end support during pre-departure, while abroad, and after they return. After your student has been nominated by their campus, UCEAP staff will begin working with them on their pre-departure requirements. We encourage your student to be the primary contact for communication. And your student can find contact information for our staff on the UCEAP website under contacts, as well as through their UCEAP portal. All students have an account with UCEAP called the UCEAP portal that has a wealth of information. Talk to your student to see if they feel comfortable giving you access to the portal, since many details you would like to know can be found there. If you want access to the portal, you will need to ask your student for permission for their password. There will be times your student may say to you, I don't know what I need to do to get housing, or how am I supposed to get a visa? Rather than completing the task for them, please encourage your student to take an active role in preparing for their program. We know they are busy with school, but the best support you can provide is to encourage them to reach out on their own to get the answers to their own questions. Our staff will also provide a comprehensive pre-departure webinar, which is required for all students and done via Zoom. It covers a wide range of topics that are relevant to their program. And once on site, they will attend another mandatory orientation. All students are required to arrive by the official program start date. It's important that they wait to purchase their airline ticket until their program calendar is available. They should also closely review their arrival instructions, because if they arrive early, they will not have support until the official arrival date. Here's where you can find the program dates inside the portal. Some calendars are not available until closer to the program start date. Your student will be notified via email once the program has been published. Once the calendar has been published. This section, which is also in the portal, provides instructions on how to get to the program location, as well as emergency contact information. So let's talk a little bit about what your student can expect once they are abroad. We know your student is excited about travel opportunities, learning a new culture, and making new friends. But studying abroad is also about challenges, discomfort, and growth. They're going abroad to experience differences that can sometimes be unsettling, especially in the beginning. Encourage them to seek out opportunities that may be outside their comfort zone, to interact with locals and learn more about their new culture. They may encounter living conditions and transportation schedules that are more challenging and less convenient than they are used to on their UC campus. Some problems can be addressed, but others may need students to adapt to what may be considered a normal part of living in their host country. This is part of the experience of living in a foreign country. UCEAP offers a huge variety of programs, and the type of on-site support will vary. In some locations, UCEAP has dedicated staff in country, while in other places, students are supported by staff in the host university international office. On-site staff are the best source of assistance for both routine and urgent matters. If your student is experiencing a problem, such as having no hot water in their apartment, or they're having a conflict with a roommate, encourage them to speak to local staff rather than trying to solve it for them. Having your student take ownership, being flexible and adaptable, and learning to be self-sufficient is key to a successful study abroad experience and provides the foundation for transformational growth. Because you are part of your student support network, they may share aspects of their experience that are upsetting or frustrating to them. Sometimes this can be interpreted that they are really struggling and in need of immediate assistance, when all they might want is for someone to listen and empathize with them. Other times it is more serious and could be an emergency. Our International Health and Safety Director will cover this later on in the presentation. Wherever they are headed, we look forward to supporting your students during their UCEAP program. Our next speaker will be Michael Marcelli, UCEAP's Director of Finance.
Thank you, Michelle, and good evening to everyone who's attending this webinar. Welcome to all of our students, parents, guardians, and other support network advocates. As Michelle said, I'm Michael Marcelli. I'm the Director of Finance at UCEAP. At this point in the student's journey, you're likely making plans and anticipating expenses during your participant study abroad program. I'd like to talk a little bit about how UCEAP calculates our budgets, the structure of our office, and how we work to support your students and to ensure that you have a seamless financial aid experience as your student moves from their home campus to our programs abroad, and then a seamless process back to your home UC. Student budgets for UCEAP programs include costs for the round-trip airfare from California back to the home destination, housing, meals and incidental costs on the ground, local transportation expenses, any instruction materials, including in travel insurance, and all UCEAP and other local staff services. In order to calculate accurate costs of living, student budgets are researched each year and by our experienced global program teams, including our staff based abroad. All of these costs are included in the financial aid calculation done by the campus. Our website contains the student budgets and costs for all of our programs for winter and spring programs. On screen is a sample budget for our program at Carlos III University in Madrid for the fall semester 23, which is currently going on. This example is for a UCLA student, which includes campus fees that vary by campus and for comparison average UC cost of attendance in country. As you can see, this is an inclusive list that has all of the expenses your student will experience, including that airfare to and back from California. Financial aid at UCEAP is like a normal term at a student's home UC campus and follows the deadline and schedules for financial aid applications. Typically, all aid currently available to a student at their home UC is transferable to UCEAP, including grants and other scholarships. Aid is transferred to UCEAP prior to the program start date. Students do not need to do anything to get their aid to transfer. This is an automatic process worked through UCEAP and your home UC. UCEAP uses a third-party payment processor, Transact, to allow online payments towards UCEAP fees. Students are able to invite parents or guardians to Transact to make payments on their behalf if they wish. Credit cards, debit cards, and e-check online payments are available. It's important to inform you that bank statements will show UCSB and not UCAP when making these transactions. If you have any specific questions regarding the amounts, we recommend contacting your home UC financial aid office for a financial aid estimate. Our finance team holds regular office hours for any student or parent with any types of questions you may have. On the top right of the slide, you can see the QR code that will direct you to our scheduling page. If there's any specific questions we can help you with, please use the QR code on the screen to see a list of the UCAP countries where your student participant may be attending. After selecting the country, you can see the finance account assigned to that program. The QR code attached on the slide has the contacts and goes to a PowerPoint slide. We appreciate your attendance here tonight and look forward to answering any of your questions and excited to have your student participate in a future UCAP program. Thank you again for your attention, and let me turn this over to my esteemed colleague, Julie Pollard, our Director of International Health Safety and Crisis Management.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening. Safety is a partnership and a shared responsibility that requires students to be well-informed and active participants in their own well-being. Our department collectively has decades worth of experience supporting student safety. We provide tools, resources, and guidance on how to remain reasonably healthy and safe while abroad, and provide emergency support when things go wrong during your program. I'd like to discuss supporting your student, understanding what health and safety resources students have access to, and how to utilize these resources. They will all be described, and they are all available to all UCEAP participants. All are detailed in the student portal. On your screen, you see the UCEAP portal with red arrows pointed to insurance and health and safety. UCEAP prioritizes health and safety and works to provide the best resources to holistically manage well-being while studying abroad. We encourage students to carefully review the section of the portal with their support network. In preparation for study abroad, all students must obtain a health clearance. It is important and a required component of studying abroad. If you have not started this process, the instructions can be found by scanning the QR code on the top right. First, students must complete a confidential health history form. This form is only shared with a doctor or medical practitioner. It is not submitted to UCEAP. This form is meant to help guide conversations about program participation with a medical professional. The instructions may differ based on the UC campus, but this slide shows the overall process along with some suggestions. It is important to be honest about any conditions or concerns regarding wellness while studying abroad. For example, consider if the program has any requirements such as physical activity, or if the program location requires significantly more physical activity than your student may be used to in daily life. Prescribed medication should also be researched for legality and availability in the program country. If specific conditions necessitate seeing a medical specialist, such as a psychiatrist, it is important to discuss a treatment plan and what is needed in order to be successful in the program. Please encourage your student to be mindful of deadlines and complete this important process. All students are required to take the UCEAP Health and Safety course. This course will take about an hour to finish. The slide provides an overview of the learning outcomes. It was developed by University of California experts and includes essential and helpful information to better prepare for study abroad. The first 4 sections of the course cover health and safety topics that benefit all students studying in all program locations. The course may also require a 5th country-specific section depending on the program location. The University of California partners with several organizations to support students. LYRA is our virtual mental health provider. Crisis 24 is our risk management partner, helping the UC operate globally. Chubb is our insurance provider for the UC travel policy, and AXA is our travel assistance provider of this policy. In the next slides, we will explore what each organization is, what they provide, and how their services can be utilized. LYRA is different from other mental health services. It uses a combination of counselors, clinicians, technology, and research-backed therapies to develop a personalized treatment plan. They offer in-person, virtual, or phone sessions, as well as a DIY approach through the online library of videos, articles, strategies, and meditations. LYRA allows students to participate in up to 20 mental health counseling sessions for no additional fee. This is different from the travel insurance program, where services are paid upfront and then a reimbursement is requested by submitting a claim. For LYRA, no paperwork and no fees are required. Simply sign up and attend. Coverage begins on arrival day in the program country. The QR code on the screen takes you to the sign-up page. Crisis 24 provides intelligence-driven, world-class risk advice and alerts, innovative technology, and security evacuation services. All students are automatically enrolled to receive travel alerts for their program country and city. These alerts keep students informed of events that may impact daily life. It is important to read them and consider the advice provided. Their WorldQ travel planner allows students to research any location and obtain global travel tips. A personal profile can be created where alert notifications are customized. This is helpful when planning personal travel to other countries and cities. For example, while on a personal trip to London, you are alerted to a protest happening near a museum you intend to visit. Having this information allows you to reconsider your plan and be properly informed about what is happening. We recommend registering personal travel to continue receiving the alerts. The WorldQ app, which students have the option to download after acceptance in a UCEAP program, makes this process fairly easy. The top right QR code directs you to an Office of the President website that describes our relationship with Crisis 24. The bottom right QR code takes you to the travel planner. UC campus credentials are required to log into the travel planner. As a UCEAP participant, students are automatically enrolled in the student travel insurance policy designed by Chubb for the University of California. The plan provides medical and non-medical benefits. Student travel insurance serves as the primary medical coverage while abroad, but it is not the same as health insurance in the United States. If a student is enrolled in UCShip while on campus, they will need to continue that enrollment while on a UCEAP program. Costs for medical care are usually paid out of pocket and are then reimbursable according to the policy details. Some benefits include a zero deductible and a zero copay, prescription drug benefits, mental health counseling, medical and security evacuation, and continued treatment for pre-existing covered conditions. AXA is the travel assistance provider, and UCEAP students have access to their portal called TravelEye, where extensive information regarding health risks while traveling or care in a specific city can be found. AXA can help connect the student with medical care abroad, evacuate in the event of a serious medical emergency, and provide global health teleconsultation through their app called Dr. Please. If a student has a more complex medical case that might require a specialist treatment plan, AXA's continuity of care planning can assist in organizing the support needed before leaving the United States. We know that insurance is a complex topic, and therefore we provide extensive information in the UCEAP website, including the insurance policy brochure, and also in the UCEAP portal. We have a specific staff member in the Health, Safety, and Crisis Management team dedicated to insurance issues and questions. Use the QR code on the slide to access this section of our website. During a crisis in a program location, UCEAP will issue a welfare check. This means that a student will receive an email and a text from our emergency communication system asking for them to check in. The Health, Safety, and Crisis Management Department conducts a welfare check drill for all students in all programs to familiarize them with the welfare check tool and the process in the event of an actual emergency. This drill typically occurs in the beginning of the program. Responding to the welfare check drill is a requirement stated in the UCEAP participation agreement. That also is available in the student portal. Not completing a welfare check drill will result in a disciplinary warning. Students are required to update their contact information in the portal to ensure that we are able to reach them during a crisis. If a student is traveling outside their program city, they are required to complete a travel sign out in the portal. UCEAP operates an emergency phone line that is answered every day, all night. Calls are answered by an emergency answering service and then directed to myself, a member of my department, or senior leadership in the global programs teams. Our emergency responders are trained and tested in dealing with all types of emergencies. The website listed on this slide is UCEAP's In an Emergency webpage, which defines an emergency and details how to report incidents. Students also have access to local support, and that is available in the portal and in the program guide. As a final reminder, remember that UCEAP's website, student portal, are filled with resources and information that students should be reading. Using these resources proactively rather than reactively will help maintain wellness while abroad. And last, but certainly not least, please reach out and ask for help before a situation becomes more serious. Wellness is truly a partnership, and our goal is for all students to have a safe and successful academic experience abroad. We'll now begin the Q&A session. Please submit your questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. I'd like to introduce Associate Program Director Noah Kitchens to moderate. Noah, please get us started.
Thank you, everyone. And I just want to preface the Q&A session by saying that we will try to answer all of your questions here in this webinar, but we know that you may have a lot of questions that we may not be able to cover. And we have our team of specialists available for specific program questions, specifically for course-related questions or anything related to academics on the program. We always recommend our academic specialist answer those questions. And for housing questions or anything related to the pre-departure process, when to buy airline tickets, visa questions, those are questions our program specialists typically answer. And you can always contact them at info@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. And we'll do our best to redirect those inquiries to the proper specialist for the program. And we noticed that a lot of questions have come in regarding those specific types of questions. So please be mindful to follow up, and hopefully we'll get those answers to you through the specialist. For some of these general questions, we'll try to consolidate to the best of our ability and answer the questions as we can. We see some questions coming in about health and safety, insurance. Can I ask you, Julie, what do we do for medical insurance if a student opted out of the UC-SHIP?
So if a student does not have UC-SHIP and they have their own insurance, they have to continue working with UC-SHIP to ensure that they are compliant with the campus policy. The UCEAP travel policy is required. There is no way of opting out of that policy. I also saw a question about LIRA. It's important to note that LIRA has a domestic program which campus students can access on campus. They also have a global program. It's confusing because it's the same name, but they are completely different programs. So the domestic counselors through LIRA are not able to work with students when they study abroad. There is a whole different set of counselors through LIRA that work with students while they are abroad. I also saw a question asking about a link to the travel planner. This recording will have the slides available. So I encourage you to look at the What Families Want to Know webpage, and it will be there and available so you can click it.
Quickly, we know that a common question is for students having a way to connect with each other before they go abroad who are studying in the same location. And the best answer we have for this is to refer you back to the the home campus, sometimes they can connect students with each other that they know are already going, and to our social media resources that we have. UCEAP has a Discord channel, for example, that I've seen students make connections with. So those are the options that we currently refer students back to make connections. I think we see some questions about visas. And again, visa questions, we have 38 to 40 countries we work with, so visa questions are going to be very specific, and that's a question we always refer to our program specialists. This question, can I ask you, Michael, to pay tuition? Do they continue to pay via Cal Central for UCEAP programs?
I know for each campus, due to campus fees and other unique costs per campus, if you'll email our student finance at ucap.universityofcalifornia.edu, and I'll put that email address in the chat, we can answer those specific questions if you'll provide us with your student's name and their student ID. Each campus is unique and different, so I'd like to address that specifically for that person.
Sure, and it looks like we do have some more questions regarding finance issues that are coming up very specifically. When will the medical forms be due? Julie?
The health clearance deadlines are posted in the UCEAP portal, and they differ based on the program country, so it really depends.
I see a question about going to the country early. And this is a question specific to a program. But Michelle, would you give any general advice about arriving to programs earlier than program deadlines, or
Yeah,
in anticipation of visas?
happy to. It depends a lot. Although it sounds like a good idea to get there a couple days ahead and to try to do things, something may happen where they need assistance with their housing, or they're struggling with language, or have other questions, or just homesick. But some staff, for example, may be on their holiday vacation just before coming back, or they may not be available. And so we really try to encourage that people adhere to the official arrival date, because host universities, if there isn't UCEAP staff on site, host universities have a lot of welcome events and activities for students, typically at the beginning of an orientation timeframe. And there's a lot of things planned, but if people come too early, it's challenging for them to connect with host university staff, to ask the questions that they may be able to better answer during the orientation or the welcome session. So I would encourage you to really try to pay attention to the arrival date. Some places also, it's very dependent on your visa. So the entry date is really important to adhere to based on what you were given during your visa. And again, that varies, but each student will be informed of their arrival date and information. They'll be emailed by their program specialist. And Noah, if I can jump in, I saw one other question about which specialist, like do they talk to the person at their UC campus, or do they talk to the UCEAP one? And I can see sometimes where that may be confusing, but I would recommend you go directly to the UCEAP website where it says contacts. There was a slide earlier that you can revisit, but reaching out to the program specialist, one is there's a finance contact. There is a specialist for basic program questions related to housing, visas, travel, arrival, and then also an academic specialist. I would recommend you just go directly there and email the question. You can set up an individual call with the specialist if you'd like to, and they can do a one-on-one Zoom call with you too. So specific information typically is answered best by UCEAP.
And one quick clarification can I ask for, Michelle, is I think a question about a host institution versus study center personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be providing support?
Did it say support like on site, you mean? Who would be providing support? That's a hard answer. Okay, so let me try to be succinct with this. It varies in each location. We're not trying to be vague. It's just that it really varies. Some locations have host university staff and that students can go to, and that's the only type of support, but they offer a lot of events, activities, information, phone numbers to contact for different support. Other locations have UCEAP staff and international host university staff. And there's also others that we work with third-party providers that organize and plan programs that we call UCEAP construct programs, where they work with us to develop the syllabi, the programming, everything, and they're there for support for students. So it really varies at each location. And in the pre-departure information, the UCEAP specialists do go into that information in more detail.
I see a couple questions about credit cards and financing, how much money to bring. And again, this is a very specific location type of question, but Michael, maybe you can answer generally about our program budgets.
Sure, thank you for the question. And I'm working through the listing of all the questions, so you'll bear with me on the more specific ones. I don't have a formal recommendation about the amount of currency your student should have, but we do recommend that they have access to a credit card that works within the jurisdiction they're in and any associated travel they may do outside of their academic calendar. We also do recommend that a debit card, be sure you contact your local banking institution to ensure that you're aware of any banking fees that may occur, or finding a tool that can utilize for your students that has more access and fewer to low withdrawal fees. Unfortunately, I don't have any guidance to you about how much currency they should take with them.
And just regarding the housing questions that we're seeing, again, these are very program specific, so we would like to get the best answer to you. So we recommend contacting our program specialist specifically for the location where your student will be studying. And we'll try to get the best information possible if it's not already provided on our resources. There are some specific questions still coming about health and safety. Just to follow up the information about who to contact or how to follow up on a specific question for health and safety, Julie, can you just remind everyone where they can contact you?
Sure. We have two websites on the UCEAP main website that talk about health and safety issues. So under student resources, there's a health and safety page. There's also a travel insurance page. I've been in the chat answering several questions about the travel insurance, so you can certainly find more information there as well. There's copies of the policies so that you can familiarize yourself. I'm also seeing a number of questions about looking up specific doctors in a host country to see what kinds of providers are available. That information is available through the assistance provider. If you are currently an enrolled student, you can look at the insurance section in the UCEAP portal and you'll have very specific information. Because some things require login, that information would be in the UCEAP portal. If it's general information, it is available on our public-facing website under the health and safety section or the travel insurance section.
I see a question about firsthand information for housing in this case, but just general advice from other students. And in this circumstance, I would recommend the first point of contact being the host campus study abroad office, because they can usually guide students to the most recent experiences. They usually collect information or updates regarding specific programs, or guide them to the resources that we have. We have a lot of marketing resources in our California and Abroad blog that sometimes can answer these questions. But I think the best resource to start out with would be the study abroad office on campus. Just a email address about finance. So when you write to finance, the email address, what's the most common question you feel like you get regarding questions from finance through the email address, Michael? or Janet, if you have an idea about that.
That's a great question. We often get questions about, and it's occurred several times here, if we have payment plans available to households, and the answer is yes. If you'll click on the QR code that's within the presentation, and if your student is in Italy, for example, it'll link you to the contact information for our staff accountant who can work with you in setting up that payment plan and getting that process all started.
And still a lot of concerns about health insurance. Host families. That's a tough question to answer. I don't know. Julie, could you provide guidance if how host families might be better for LGBT tolerance if that's something that's considered?
Sure. Oftentimes it depends on the country. There are some countries where a bit more training and conversation would have to happen in order to host a student that identifies as an LGBTQI+ individual. I would encourage that student to self-identify to their program specialist and ask for guidance if they are living with a host family. I think the important thing is to have those conversations in advance so that you can feel comfortable and that you know going into a host family's home that they also are prepared accordingly to support you in your program experience.
A question about the travel insurance satisfies the need for the visa in Italy. This would be a question for the program specialist. All visa related questions are handled by the program specialist. They have a lot of experience and sometimes very direct relationships with the local consulates and can answer questions that may be out of the common nature. So I would recommend just to follow up with the program specialist for all visa related questions. The class guarantees. Peter or Vivian, would you like to talk about what level of guarantees that that our students encounter?
Sure. We cannot guarantee that every course that a student puts on their planned study list will be available, and that's really no different than what happens on a home campus. Course schedules might change. Somebody may have some other faculty member may have another commitment. A course can be oversubscribed. I mean, there are a number of things that could potentially happen. And this is why students will work very closely with academic advisors, our UCEAP academic advising staff, the associate deans here, and the local staff. In many instances, the problem can be resolved, but like I said, it's really not different than being on a home campus. We have waiting lists on campuses for certain courses, and sometimes that will happen abroad as well. But I think that the local staff and our staff will do their best to get students into courses that they need. And that's really the guarantee that I can give, is that everyone will absolutely do their best. I don't know if Peter, you want to add anything to that.
You're certainly right about those challenges. There's also the challenge about making sure you get course credit when you go home. I know this question's come up already. So for every course you take through UCEAP, you'll get UC credit for it. So you'll get credit on your transcript, but there's always the challenge about getting credit towards your major requirements. That can be a problem. So we have resources for that. The first is that you can go to the course abroad database that's on the UCEAP website. That's going to tell you courses in your student's major. Say if it's, I don't know if it's, I teach philosophy, so it's philosophy and it's at UCLA. You can find out all the courses that the UCLA philosophy department has given credit towards the major before at the various destinations where they may study abroad through UCEAP. So that's a great resource of knowing where you'll probably, if not definitely, get credit. But you're going to have to work with your academic advisor. So work with your academic advisor in your major to figure out in advance what courses are going to count. It's always up to the home department, whether it's Berkeley or Los Angeles or Irvine, to decide whether or not a course abroad counts towards the major. So that's why it's so important to start that conversation very early with the academic advisor in the major department to get that kind of help in advance.
Maybe Vivian, I can ask you to tackle this very difficult type of question. We know that sometimes our support networks have concerns about guaranteed housing and guaranteed class registration. Why isn't that a guarantee?
Well, I think that again, the housing depends on the demand for different kinds of housing. In different locations, we offer various options, and so an option may be filled by the time a student declares that they would like that kind of housing. So it's not possible for us to guarantee that. In some cases, it is the partner institution that only will guarantee a certain number of spaces for visiting students. But in every case, again, the international office or a local housing office or our staff, will have resources for shared apartments with other students or studios or other student kind of hotels. Or still the university owned options or leased options that are just not the same configuration that the student hoped for. And again, that can happen on campus. A student can want to have a single room in a dorm, and there are none left. And they can then have a choice between a double or looking off campus for something, and that includes a wide range of options as well. So it's impossible for us to guarantee it. In some of our programs, though, we do have locations where there is sufficient housing for us to be able to guarantee it. But across the board, we cannot say that. In terms of courses, again, I think, as Peter and I tried to explain, it is, again, much like on our own campuses. We have to understand that what we are doing is placing students in a partner institution that's operating in the same way that we are. And when their students come to the UC, for them to try to get into an engineering course sometimes is near impossible. These are not, it's not something that we're purchasing and being able to give you a guarantee. It's part of the experience of being abroad is to learn how those institutions operate. We understand the pressures in terms of wanting credit and the appropriate credit for every course. We understand that. I don't want to make light of it. But the reality is we can't guarantee everything, but we just do our absolute darndest to try to make it work as best as possible for all the students outbound and our inbound reciprocity students as well.
I see a great question about parents getting in touch and an idea about how to do that. I would recommend reaching out to our marketing team. They have our social media coordinator who runs all of our social media channels who could take that into consideration and see what the options might be to have a channel or network for parents to ask questions and connect for program-specific information. Can I ask you a question, Michelle, about extending the stay after the program ends? And I assume this means either traveling after the program or extending the program.
Yeah, it depends. It's a hard, I get all the depend questions. It really, first of all, it's going to depend if you're in a country that requires a visa. It's going to depend on how long your program was already, and then how long you're allowed to stay in the country past your educational visa, your student visa. So it's going to depend. You could talk to your program specialist more specifically, because it could also be that you could go for a few days. It could be a couple weeks. It could be if you're studying in Europe, if you go outside the Schengen area. So there's a lot of answers that I could provide, but it depends on the country. So I would recommend that you just reach out to your program specialist and they can give you more specific information. And if they can't answer it, they can give you some information on the country or reach out to our host institution.
And Vivian, as the parent of a UC EAP alum, the question about visiting the student while they're overseas or away, do you have any recommendations about that?
Yeah, I think it's really lovely when family can go over and visit a student who's abroad. But I think it's really important to understand, as Peter said, that this is study abroad, not travel abroad. And therefore, it's really best to restrict that kind of visit to a break period, fall break, spring break, some other extended holiday period at the end of the program. I actually don't recommend that family accompany the student, and certainly not try to stay and tour around at the beginning of the program because of orientation. There are often excursions that are planned for the students and other kinds of activities. And so that's really not optimal. But during breaks or at the end of the program, I think it's wonderful. The students will be able to show you the places that they loved going. You can go to their favorite restaurants. You can have new experiences altogether. So as long as you keep in mind that they are in an academic program, they have classes, they can't just willy-nilly miss them. Oftentimes there are ramifications for missing that would lower their grades. If you're just thoughtful about it in those ways, I think it's a great idea.
A couple more questions about SHIP have just come in, Julie. Would you like to reiterate any information about these questions, arranging health
Sure.
insurance?
Sure. So if you already opt out of UC SHIP, you have to continue doing so using your own private health insurance. UC SHIP is an automatic thing for all students that attend the UC. You have to opt out of it. The UCEAP travel policy does not qualify you to opt out of SHIP. We do get that question a lot. So you do have to maintain both. And the reason is that the travel insurance does not provide coverage for preventative care, which is a requirement. The UC SHIP policy does provide that.
Okay, and I recall a question about the specialist. Who are they? Where are they based? I just want to reiterate that we're referring to our UCEAP system-wide specialists. So we have our UCEAP system-wide program specialists who are assigned to specific countries. And that would be the person who handles all of the pre-departure communications, issues related to visa, host applications, deadlines, and our UCAP system-wide academic specialist who can answer questions regarding to course registrations, requirements, prerequisites, and articulation of coursework processes, referring them back to the home campus. So that I just wanted to clarify that we do have those personnel at UCEAP assigned to every student who's going on a UCEAP program.
And I just noticed that Julie added that to the chat to everyone. So if anyone needed that direct link for contacts, it's there now.
Well, I believe we have completed our webinar session for November 15th. I appreciate everyone who was able to join today. Thank you for a lot of wonderful questions. And
Noah, I'd like to just add that if people, if their questions were not answered, because there were many of them coming in, and some came in the chat as well as in the Q&A, please do send an email to the address that I thought would be up on the screen again, and that is, I think, info@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. The impossibly long URL. and we will get back to you, especially if you had individual questions about your student or your own program. We will respond to every question. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate your attendance and your interest, and all of us want to wish all of the students just absolutely the best experience and all academic success.